Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
It was nice to at least walk down the last few holes, or at least the last hole, knowing that it was pretty much done. It's never safe, but very proud of everybody, and of course Tiro. I mean, what a week to get his first win in a few years and win by 6 in an absolutely dominant performance the way he did. It was absolutely incredible, so I couldn't be happier for him.
Certainly with not winning for 3.5 years, you kind of naturally question if you can do it again. So I'm just proud of myself to be able to get through that and play the way I did.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie, I am Ben. To get things started, we do it a little bit differently here by hearing from the people, some more NBA summer drama, as there always is. DRS will do that. We'll talk the world of golf. A Ryder Cup captaincy that was shared out yesterday. Not one name that maybe we expected, and yet another, Keegan Bradley, to lead the Americans at the Ryder Cup on home soil next September in 2025 at Bethpage Black. And then we will finally, and I mean finally, talk some football here on this Tuesday. We'll go division by division, 8 around the National Football League over the next few weeks leading up to the start of what we will have for everything this year in 2024. All of that in this second hour.
Yes, and by the way, take a look at the NFL training camp starting next week. Fantastic stuff. You got, major golf tournament next week in the British Open. Would like that all the way long. But you know what I was disappointed at? I was actually getting fired up for the Ryder Cup because, to me, the Ryder Cup is just such sensational theater and TV that when I saw that we had a captain announced, like, oh, man, September is going to be awesome, and realized it's not this September, it's next September. So you got to wait that entire season. So I was actually putting that ball a little bit ahead there, but saying to myself, man, the Ryder Cup is going to be great. You know what, Ben? Can't watch it this September. Got to wait till next year. But the fact is, I didn't even know it was going to be at Bethpage. That is going to be tremendous. Always love the New York Northeast golf crowd there that maybe not as, golf friendly as what you would see in the South or out West here. I love that because that adds to the rivalry. And there's one thing you understand from Bethpage. When the European team lines up a 5-foot putt, don't be surprised if there's a little crowd noise before the putt, and once that putt is missed, even more crowd noise.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. The Long Island faithful, not necessarily the friendliest to the European
ball,
side.
Sergio.
And that wasn't even at the Ryder Cup. That was just, I think, at the PGA back in the day. That is going to be absolutely incredible. So we'll get to that with Keith Stewart in just a little bit. Of course, part of this NBA summer, free agency, not the most robust free agent class that we had seen, but the biggest blockbuster deal, although it feels like an eon ago, was just about 9 days ago when free agency started on Sunday, June 30th. And in the late overnight hours, it's when Paul George signed his 4-year max deal worth $12 million, with the Philadelphia 76ers. On his own podcast, that is Podcast P with Paul George, he detailed rather fascinatingly his conversations with his representation and the LA Clippers. Paul George stating that he wanted to be in LA. Apparently, according to Paul George, of course, we're only getting one side of the accounts, but LA's first offer was just 2 years, $60 million. He asked for the same contract as Kawhi during the season, asked for a 3-year deal worth $150 million and a no-trade clause after the year was done. His final ask with LA, 4 years, $220 million. Again, Paul George reiterated his desire to remain in Los Angeles. Who knows exactly how strong that desire was, but that's what he said. Because of what he thought the Clippers kind of lowballing him, he ends up leaving in free agency. That relationship in LA comes to a close. He makes his way to Philadelphia. So now we wanted to hear from the people. Long term, who will win the Paul George and Clippers split? That was our question in Fade the Public. Four options for you at SportsGrid on Twitter. Not the largest amount of votes we have ever seen in FTP history. The Clippers, Paul George, both or neither for which side is going to win the Paul George and Clippers split. Most of the public, more than 48% of the public, saying neither. Paul George gets the second most votes at nearly 26%. DRS, which way did you vote in this poll?
Yeah, I voted neither, but I don't even think I read the actual question correctly at this point because, quite frankly, I want to change it to Paul George. Now, also, secondarily, you saw that graphic that got put up there. Shout out the Clippers for having their new logo, a Carnival cruise ship for that clown franchise overall. Now, when I'm taking a look at Paul George going from Los Angeles to Philadelphia, here's some things that I don't like sometimes when you see it from a perspective of a player. A huge contract to a new team, and the Sixers are expected to do some damage now in the East. And I understand human thoughts and ways get in the way of, the process, which means Paul George is doing nonstop. Instead of saying, like, you know what, I know he probably likes to be a Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid loves him on the team. I get that here. But I'm just hearing a lot of this like, hey, man, I really wanted to be in L.A. I wanted to stay in L.A. I got disrespected. But, boy, if they would offer me this, I would have stayed in L.A. It sort of gives me that taste, like coming to the Sixers, like, okay, I just legitimately went out and just got the most money that I could. It just so happens that it's the Sixers, but I did want to stay in L.A. at this point. So it doesn't rub me the wrong way, but it doesn't give me those vibes. Like, you want to see a player go to a new team on that big contract like, I couldn't wait to get out of Los Angeles. I was talking to Joel Embiid for 6 months saying, boy, I would fit right in, and we could have made a run to the championship last year and knocked off the Celtics. Instead, what I'm getting here is, yes, I understand, like, hey, look at this. I'm with the Sixers. I'm going to wear number 8 for Kobe Bryant. Did you want to stay in Los Angeles and play for the Lakers then? And they weren't offering you a deal at this point? So I'm just being that sarcastic fan at this point, looking at this poll saying, who's going to win it? I hope Paul George wins it because it means the Philadelphia 76ers got past the second round probably in the next year. And yes, that means they probably will win the trade. But all of what I'm hearing from Paul George is, man, I really wanted to stay in Los Angeles. But here I am in Philadelphia.
A couple of things to that point, right? It's much easier to say after everything has been done and sealed that you wanted to remain in a certain place. Also, PG is now a content guy. He knows it's good podcast conjecture to have those conversations. I don't necessarily believe that he was dismayed at the Clippers for lowballing him. Maybe from a money perspective, but not trying to end out his career bringing the Clippers a championship. Paul George is a native of Palmdale. That is virtually Los Angeles. Inland Empire, Southern California. Donnie knows all about that. I don't think his desire growing up was to play for the Clippers. That's just my 2 cents on the conversation. So I don't think he was like, oh, man, I can barely keep going in the NBA. Do I decide to hang it up or should I go take $212 million in Philadelphia? I think he will be A-okay. I voted for neither in this poll just because what is winning this split? The Clippers certainly aren't winning it. The Clippers are about to be in a tailspin. Even if PG remained in LA, I don't think I would look at their odds ever so favorably to win the Western Conference, because it's still Kawhi, who is never there for playoff basketball, and James Harden. When I look at the Philadelphia side of things, I do think the Sixers got the better end of the deal. Is PG that third and missing piece alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid to actually win the Eastern Conference and even get to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since AI's days back in 2001? Yeah, I would say so. Ultimately, do the 76ers win the Eastern Conference with Paul George and an NBA title? I remain a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, the Sixers are much better than where they were last year at this point here, because you take a look at lose Tobias Harris, you get Paul George, you made some other really good free agent signings here. So I'm excited for the Philadelphia 76ers, which again, the pantheon sometimes is not to get to the NBA Finals and win it here. It's how about you just make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals once in a while. And the Sixers look like they just could be poised to do that. And also, by the way, Paul George signing for $212, you might have said, Ben, where is he coming? To the SportsGrid Network at that point for that price, not to an NBA franchise. But yes, you know, hey, taking shots all over the place at this point. But by the way, Paul George is going to win this, because all, again, the Sixers have to do is make it to the third round of the playoffs, and they will be just fine. I believe they'll probably do that next year if Joel Embiid is not on his last legs at the end of the season once again.
Fade the public poll tomorrow. Would you sign at SportsGrid for $212 over a 4-year span? That's a good debate. Golf talk next.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on the side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud, or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Pharrell. He's on the back 9 of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This week, the best golfers in the world start their European vacation. It's the Scottish Open this week before the final major championship of the year next week at Royal Troon, the Open Championship in 2024. And then following, we head to Paris for some Olympic golf as well. In a busy time in the world of golf, as we already look forward to 2025's Ryder Cup as well, with some big bombshell news this week. Keith Stewart is here for the next 2 segments live on this Tuesday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on TEL.
Ben, I love the way you put that. Good morning on a Tuesday. These guys are on vacation over in Scotland. It's 57 and raining over there right now. Pack your umbrella.
Honestly, Keith, it's 84 degrees in this SportsGrid studio in Midtown Manhattan. 57 and raining doesn't sound that bad at this moment. But Keith, before we look forward, let's look back. When you were here last week getting ready for the John Deere Classic at TPC Deere Run, we asked you some of those early leans on the early line. You went a little bit deeper down the board, and you highlighted Davis Thompson, who won his first PGA Tour event at nearly 30 under par in the Quad Cities, featuring a front 929 in his final round on Sunday. What was it about Thompson's game that you thought he might be able to break through for his first PGA Tour career victory last week in the Quad Cities?
Well, I'll tell you what, this kid has been a stud since his days at Georgia. He was the #1 ranked amateur player in the world when he was a senior. He won the NCAA regionals a couple times. And now this being his second year out on tour, everyone was just waiting for him to win. And he was trending unbelievably 9th at the U.S. Open, 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage. And he had been playing so well because the driver, which had been a weapon for him in college, the kid's 6'4" and absolutely, he just rips it off the tee, had been kind of a problem for him, had plagued him at points in his professional career. But he's got it figured out right now. And as a result, he can score, there's no doubt. I mean, 126 over the weekend, there was no Sunday sweat. I don't care what the temperature is in that studio. You were calm, cool, and collected with that bet because we took it to the window on Sunday.
How about this? Let's talk about some other players there and some young up-and-coming golfers, which includes Luke Clanton, who, if you watched on Sunday, shot a -8 to drop his score to -24, which is tied for second, and a check that's estimated around $712,000. Congratulations to the kid. But, oh, no, Keith, he's an amateur. He can't dip into that prize pool. Why can't we say after the tournament, you know what, I'm going pro. I'm taking the 712, and away I go as a 20-year-old with my PGA Tour card in hand, hopefully at that point. Why can't we cash these tickets here, Keith?
Donnie, you know, there's a million things in golf I look at every week, and that slipped by me, and I tell you what, you're absolutely right. In the day and age of NIL, why is this kid not getting paid? It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. I mean, honestly, give the kid the check. I mean, there are guys and women making money in college sports that double that triple that, quadruple that. I mean, Bronny James, that's like a T-shirt deal for him. I mean, give the kid the $700K. I mean, at least he's proven himself as an athlete.
Absolutely so. Maybe his NIL deal now in college will be better because of his performance at the TPC Deere Run John Deere Classic. The things that slip by even the most astute golf fans never get by Donnie Wright's side. Keith, the things that my co-host fixates on each and every week always astound me. Now we go this week to the Scottish Open over across the pond as all the best in the world get ready to sharpen the iron for next week at Royal Troon in the 2024 Open Championship. The reigning champ at the Scottish Open, that would be one Rory McIlroy. He enters this week as the favorite, plus 750. No Scotty Scheffler at the Scottish Open. Seems like a misbranding and NIL opportunity. Xander Schauffele, second best price at plus 850. Colin Morikawa rounds out the top three at 14-1. Keith, some of the best in the world, a part of the Scottish Open. How do you expect them to fare this week ahead of the Open Championship?
I think the toughest spot for Rory is going to be the press room on Wednesday when he has to answer questions about the U.S. Open. Quite honestly, this golf course is set up perfect for him. The Renaissance Club is now in its 6th edition of the Scottish Open and its 3rd year of this co-sanctioned event with the DP World Tour. The first 2 years was won by Xander and then backed up last year by Rory. And I tell you what, the weather is always going to play a role over there. And I have to put up that green screen behind me and go all Al Roker on you guys. But it is raining today out there. It is below 60 degrees, and the wind is somewhat blowing. It is going to rain every day this week there, according to the forecast, but the wind is going to subside. And if you don't have wind over there, these guys are going to go low. I mean, Xander won in his edition in 2022 at 7 under par, and guys have won. Bernd Weisgerber won way back in 2018. He won it at 22 under par. So it tells you if you don't get wind at this place, you can go deep. And those two guys, Xander and Rory, are the perfect archetype player for what's going to happen there. You've got to be able to hit the ball long off the tee. There's very little penalty for missing the fairway there at the Renaissance Club. And the second thing is you have to be able to putt. And when you go across these The greens are going to be slower, so you have to be able to adjust, and you have to be able to putt from long distance. Sometimes that might even be off the green, and that's something that both Rory and Xander can do very well. Colin as well, but I wonder about his length. So as far as the favorites go, there's a good chance if Rory can, put the U.S. Open behind him, that he wins this thing by 5 because it's the perfect golf course for him.
We love that long money out here, Keith. Let's take a look at some of these guys a little bit farther down in those price points, because this is a really good field for the Scottish Open. A lot of big names with some good money behind them.
There's no doubt about that. And there's one guy I have my eye on, and he won here in 2020, and he's been a name that everyone's been talking about on your channel and every other channel for the last couple weeks, and that's Aaron Rai. He started the week yesterday at the odds drop at plus 5,500. He's already dropped down to plus 4,500. He finished, second there at the Rocket Mortgage. He was top 10 again at the John Deere Classic. And the reason for that is that this guy's always been an incredible ball striker. But guess what? He's going to see John Graham, PGA professional and putting coach out there on tour, and he's turned around the putting. He gained almost 9 strokes at TPC Deere Run, and that led him into that top 10 position and contending on Sunday. I love Rai coming back to a place that he's won. And guess what? With bad weather, the guy already wears 2 gloves. He'll be ready for any kind of situation out there when it comes to the Scottish Open.
North Berwick, Scotland, and then we go to the west coast of Scotland for the 2024 Open Championship at Royal Troon next week, the final major of this year in golf. And we're already looking forward to 2025 in the Ryder Cup. You bet your bottom dollar at Bethpage. Keith will talk about it next.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. He was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on the side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Pharrell. He's in the back 9 of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Big news in the golf world yesterday for the 2025 Ryder Cup out on Long Island at Bethpage Black on home soil. The captain for the Americans, that is Keegan Bradley. Keith Stewart joins us once again, live right here for a second consecutive segment. Keith, there was some reporting around who the captain would potentially be for the United States in the 2025 Ryder Cup on home soil. Maybe one known as the Big Cat, Eldrick Tiger Woods. He's not the captain. it's Keegan Bradley. What was your reaction to the news that Bradley will lead in the captaincy for the U.S. in 2025?
Well, Ben, I sit in an interesting position. When I was out in Valhalla, I was the betting lead for the PGA of America, so I'm behind the curtain a little bit. It was not going to be Tiger. Tiger had turned it down on several occasions. They were holding out hope, but at the end of the day, I don't think Bethpage, that setting, and all that's going on in his world right now, that becomes a positive situation for him. I know that all of golf Twitter wants Tiger to be the captain, but at the end of the day, is he really the best choice? I mean, we know that Zach Johnson wasn't the best choice in Rome, but, you know, an unproven entity like Tiger and what he did as a playing captain at the President's Cup down in 2019 in Australia, I don't feel that that applies as much. The microscope on the Ryder Cup runs far deeper than it does for the President's Cup. And I think that Tiger in New York, Tiger as a road captain would be a much better fit for me as they go over to Ireland in 2027.
Keith, I love the Ryder Cup. I just think it's a sensational playing field stage. And for a while, 6 out of 7 wins there for Team Europe. And then you take a look at the last 4 have been split. And home court advantage, should we say home course advantage, makes a lot of sense in those last 4. But let me ask you this question about the playing field itself. Live golfers, PGA Tour golfers, or is there going to be any people left out because they play on the Live Golf Tour as opposed to the PGA Tour?
Well, Donnie, I think that this decision to take Keegan sets a lot of precedents by the PGA of America. Number one, everyone gets this confused. The PGA of America is not the PGA Tour. So the group that I am a member of, the PGA of America, they run the U.S. side of the Ryder Cup. They are making decisions based upon what they feel is best for Team USA. Remember, Brooks earned a spot on that team back in Rome for last fall, and he was on the Live Tour. And Captain Zach Johnson took him with him. So at the end of the day, I think that this bodes very well for the Brysons and the Brooks of the world. I mean, you want to talk about Live controversy. This should have been Phil's team. This was Phil's team. He was going to go to New York and captain them at Bethpage Black and probably against somebody like Ian Poulter. And could you imagine the theater that would have created out on Long Island? And we don't get that right now because of the dispute between the Live Tour and the PGA Tour. Well, I think the PGA America is saying, you know what? We're all sick of this. We are going to pick the person who we think is going to put the best team chemistry together, who is going to take this thing like Herb Brooks in 1980 and go after that European juggernaut, and it's going to make it our time. It's no longer their time. No more 6 out of 7. This is our time, Donnie.
Wow. Keith Stewart might need to be in that locker room with Keegan Bradley as well. So, Keith, there's an idea about who is not the captain, right? We mentioned Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, but Keegan Bradley, his Twitter bio is the people's golfer. What will Keegan Bradley bring to Team USA as its captain for the 2025 Ryder Cup?
What I think Keegan Bradley is going to bring to the team is a little bit of unsettledness. You know, you ever watch Keegan Bradley play? He's very fidgety. He is very in your face, and he is an incredible ball striker. I think he's going to put these guys on edge, and that's what we need. The boys club is officially disbanded. This is not going to happen again, and I am super excited about this. Everyone on Twitter complained after Rome. We don't like the way the PGA of America does this. We don't like this. We don't like this. They have done something completely outside the box, and now everyone's complaining again that this guy isn't good enough. As far as I'm concerned, Keegan Bradley plays golf with Michael Jordan all the time. How about 3 guys that are out of work right now? Coach K, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick. Put them in the locker room instead of a bunch of guys that are, you know, Davis Love disciples. I am sick of all that. I can't stand it anymore. I want guys that are going to absolutely go in there and want to just run up and down the fairway at Bethpage Black with no shirt on, wrapped in an American flag, like Jim Craig did back in 1980. This is what we need in order to get the job done, not just at Bethpage Black, but when we go to Ireland in a couple more years. I love the change in trajectory here by my association.
Team USA, a minus money favorite to win the 2025 Ryder Cup. That's next September. 2 Septembers at minus 145. What a raucous environment and atmosphere it is going to be on Long Island at Bethpage Black. Keith Stewart, we appreciate the time. Double duty on this Tuesday here on the Early Line. Some football conversations next.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on the side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Pharrell. He's in the back 9 of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Finally, Donnie right side. The people have listened to us here at the SportsGrid Network. Our wonderful producer, Joe Frizo, behind the scenes said enough is enough. It's Tuesday, July 9th. It is time for football. As we look forward to the 2024 National Football League campaign, it's Win Total Tuesday. We have 8 Tuesdays until the start of the 2024 National Football League season on Thursday, September 5th. 8 Tuesdays that we will spin around all 8 divisions in the National Football League. That is good planning on the early line. DRS, are you excited?
We're excited for the NFL to begin underway, and quite frankly, I thought the NFL, we might have waited till next week where, sort of a dead time in sports, but it's never too early to get started cooking here in the NFL, so let's get after it here.
Can't make this guy happy. We don't talk enough football, then he wants to wait a week until we're in the All-Star break. We'll still have Win Total Tuesday next week ahead of the MLB All-Star game as well. We start in the AFC East, an incredibly compelling division once again, as was the case last offseason after the New York Jets acquired Aaron Rodgers. Drama follows that guy around, and that is the case once again entering 2024. But still at the top of the division with the highest win total, it's the Buffalo Bills. 10.5 is the number on those Bills from Western New York. They are the favorites to win the AFC East division at plus 165, 20 cents in front of the New York Jets. 9.5 the win total for Gang Green, plus 185 the number. The Miami Dolphins also a win total of 9.5, plus 210 the price on the Fins to win the AFC East. They were slated to do so last year before the Bills rallied down the home stretch of the regular season, knocking off Miami in the regular season finale to win the AFC East crown for a 4th consecutive season. Then the Patriots bring up the rear. 4.5 is the win total for New England after a 4-13 season a year ago, and a new era, of course, in Foxborough after nearly 2.5 decades under Bill Belichick. Gerard Mayo steps up and in. What is your assessment first overall, Donnie, from the AFC East perspective?
I think with those numbers, they make the most sense here. And also, some people thinking that maybe the Buffalo Bills will take a true step back. Didn't have a great offseason because they had to restructure contracts and certainly moved on from Stephon Diggs, drafted a young rookie wide receiver who's supposed to take over for one of the better in the past 5 years wide receivers in the NFL in Diggs. We'll see if that plays out. But you take a look at that win total. It's 10.5. It should be there because just having Josh Allen on your team, if he's healthy, that's probably good enough for double-digit wins. He's in that category like, oh, is Patrick Mahomes still with the Chiefs? Yeah, they'll be just fine the next year, regardless of who's on their team. I do like the mix of talent they have at the wide receiver position. Got some speed, got some young talent, and also still a solid secondary, even though they had to move on from a couple guys. Now, if we take a look at, and I know it's hard to do because you don't know exactly how these teams are going to function next year, and look at the schedule, it's a pretty tough one here. So getting 11 wins next year will be a very good accomplishment for the Buffalo Bills. If you take a look at the start of their season, it's against Arizona. They should win that. But after that, you're not getting very many layups here. At the Dolphins, the Jaguars, at the Ravens, at the Texans, at the Jets, the Titans, who I do like some of the moves that they made at the wide receiver position and should be decent as long as Levis is a good quarterback. At the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Rams, the Lions, the Patriots, Jets, and then Patriots. Only 2 layups might be at the end of the season in late December and early January with the Patriots. So you take a look at that 10.5 and say, yes, it's a 17-game schedule, Ben. They should easily get there. But then you look at the schedule just based upon some of the teams, what you thought of them last year. That is a tough schedule. But again, you got Josh Allen. There are no excuses. He's supposed to win his fair majority of those games.
DRS, our guy Warren Sharp, of course, the lead NFL analyst on the SportsGrid network with his team at Sharp Football Analytics, does a great job each and every offseason of compiling their strength of schedule metrics based on projected win total of opponents for the upcoming season in 2024. They factor in things like rest advantage, rest disadvantage, all of those things that add up to the weekly odds and spreads and numbers that we see for individual games in all 18 weeks of an NFL regular season. The Buffalo Bills have by far the hardest schedule of teams out of the AFC East, the 10th most difficult around the National Football League this upcoming season. But based on trends, Buffalo should be the favorite to win this division. Even with a change in cast and crew in Western New York, the Bills should contend because they have Josh Allen. 4 consecutive AFC East divisional crowns. All 4 years, the Buffalo Bills have won at least 11 regular season games. That is expected to be the case once again. Are you betting against that idea in Buffalo? I feel you are more optimistic on this Bills organization than maybe some others after a changing offseason in Buffalo.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you're right about that because I talked about this many times. You take a look at the Buffalo Bills for the past couple years as that it team in the AFC. Now is finally their season. They're supposed to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They get them in their own building. They can't get it done. So, you know what? Not a great offseason. You trade your best wide receiver. Things might be looking on that downshoot here, but I don't believe that. Sometimes you talk about those. It's not a buy low spot, right? Because they're not, hey, to pick 3rd out of 4 teams in the division. We're still picking them to be the favorites in the division, but I don't know if they have that lightning bolt on their name anymore where you say to yourself, like, I have to take the Buffalo Bills. I think they're the best team in the AFC. I think some other teams in the public perception, let's just say, have passed over the Bills, where maybe in the past couple of years, the Bills were always at the top of that mountain here. So I am higher on the Buffalo Bills than, let's just say, the majority of the public here because, again, if Josh Allen is healthy, they're always going to be a good football team. It's just a matter of can they produce in the playoffs when that ante gets upped against teams like the Chiefs that have been there and done that.
And that's been the story for Buffalo. The 4 years winning the division, never an AFC title, only one AFC championship game appearance. 3 of the last 4 years bounced by the divisional round. In fact, the last 3 seasons consecutively. 3 of the 4 years winning the AFC East bounced by the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills, the 4th best number to win the AFC title overall at plus 750, despite being the favorites to win the AFC East. Not all that far behind in either of those categories, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Donnie, entering last year, I was not overly optimistic on the odds outlook for Gang Green with a quarterback near 40. Of course, Aaron Rodgers injured 4 offensive snaps into the year. It went into a tailspin quickly for New York. The odds optimistic entering 2023, and once again with Aaron Rodgers recovering from the torn Achilles last year, the odds optimistic entering 2024. Do you match the optimism and the expectation from the odds perspective?
Here's what I'll say. You take a look at the New York Jets entering into this year as opposed to last year, right? You had high expectations because Aaron Rodgers was coming over, a Pro Bowl quarterback. You just wanted average Aaron Rodgers, and they might have been able to make a run to deep in the playoffs in the AFC, if not a Super Bowl, right? So you take a look at how it played out last year, and all you kept saying, Ben, on a week-to-week basis from the Jets is, boy, I don't even need all-pro quarterback play. Just give me a competent quarterback, and the Jets probably make the playoffs. Now we're thinking Aaron Rodgers this year, if he's healthy, should at least be a competent quarterback and maybe an all-pro quarterback. They should make the playoffs because just look at their defense. They got pass rushers. They got dominant linebackers. They got great secondary play, which includes Sauce Gardner and a couple other guys that can really get after it in the slot. You added Mike Williams, who might not be ready to start the season, but that's an added weapon for Aaron Rodgers. You take a look at Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall in the backfield. All the components are there, except what are we getting out of Aaron Rodgers this year? Is it going to be too many distractions? Because if I'm getting Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers, yeah, they'll probably win this division. If I'm not getting Green Bay Aaron Rodgers, who's more consumed with stuff outside of football than with football, and or he gets injured, this could be a calamity of a season. This team, more than ever, you could see either way. If you told me right now, Ben, the Jets win this division and make a deep playoff run, I would believe you. Or the Jets to miss the playoffs altogether, I would believe you as well. It's a tough team to wrap my head around, to be honest.
We are going to continue the New York Jets conversation on the other side. But I will say this. The Jets have a minus 172 number to make the AFC playoffs. The New York Jets have the longest active postseason drought, not just in the National Football League, but the four major men's North American professional sports leagues at 13 consecutive years. Will this year be different? Find out next.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on the side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Pharrell. He's in the back 9 of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
What does success look like for the New York Jets in 2024? If you base it off the odds, anything less than contending for an AFC championship would be seen as a disappointment. If you base it off New York Jets football the last decade plus, just getting to the playoffs would be a breath of fresh air, as they have failed to do that 13 consecutive seasons. And yet, the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, a minus 172 favorite to see the NFL postseason. 9.5 the win total for New York here on Win Total Tuesday. The over has the hefty juice at minus 168. The last time the New York Jets won double-digit games, that was 9 years ago in 2015. They didn't even make the playoffs in 2015. The last time the New York Jets saw the postseason, that was 13 years ago in 2010. Donnie, will the New York Jets be a playoff team in 2024?
Just based on talent, I would have to say yes. Because if I'm saying to myself, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt 3 games into the season, well, of course they're not going to make the playoffs. You can say that about a lot of franchises with their superstar quarterback. I have to go with the public side here, the minus 172 price here. I do think they'll be in the playoffs because that defense is too good. And if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, that should be good enough to get close to 10 wins, which should be able to put you into the playoffs here, Ben.
So the New York Jets trying to snap that 13-year postseason drought, as I said, in the 4 major men's professional sports leagues in North America. That's the NBA, MLB, the NHL, and, of course, the National Football League. It is the longest active drought in all 4. I would agree. They should be able to do that. I remain skeptical. Until I see it, I'm not sure I will believe it. There's the off-the-field issues and the drama that Aaron Rodgers causes, despite being the biggest hypocrite in the world, saying we need to erase all of the out-of-facility distractions. And yet that drama always finds one guy. He wears 8 and plays for the New York Jets. But here's what you can say about New York. 4th easiest schedule, according to Warren Sharp and his team, entering 2024 based on those win total projections, and a defense that was top 10 by the end of last year in terms of their scoring defensive output. There is talent, but what Aaron Rodgers are we going to see? Off the field issues and the drama and distractions aside, Donnie, and I don't even think skipping mandatory minicamp will have any impact on the X's and O's or the football output this upcoming year. He's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a torn left Achilles. And you mentioned, are we going to get Green Bay Aaron Rodgers? Up until 2022, if that's the case, they're winning 11 games and maybe making a deep playoff run. But his worst statistical career year was his final year in Green Bay, 2022. We have not seen Aaron Rodgers play good football now in 2 years. Again, until I see it, I'm not sure I believe it, and I'm not sure I'm betting it.
No, and rightfully so, which I can't condemn you for doing that because what we saw last year was a disaster on the field and off the field. We're just expecting him to be an older, similar version to himself. And again, is that an MVP level? We don't know about that. But if we're trying to take a look at next year, you're just saying to yourself, give me average play at the quarterback position. We're so talented around it, we'll make things happen. But it is crazy to think about the Jets not making the playoffs for 13 straight seasons. But also keep in mind, Ben, if you remember all the hype coming around for Aaron Rodgers, going into that room for solitary confinement for 4 days, coming out and saying, you know what? Like he's the groundhog. I want to be a New York Jet. And away he goes off to being the Jets. They still only had a win total, Ben, around 9 to 9.5 games. So even though you thought like, wow, that's going to make a big difference, usually a big difference would be okay. 10.5, 11.5, 12.5 wins as your total. They were still under double digits last year because of how tough that division and how tough the AFC is at this point. We'll see how that stacks up. I'm just a little bit more optimistic based on what I know from Aaron Rodgers without the injuries. And last year, they were abysmal at quarterback and still won 7 football games. He should be worth at least 3 more wins at this point, no?
You would think so. And again, all of the offensive pieces around him, a healthy Breece Hall, you have Garrett Wilson, you have Mike Williams now. There is so much to like on the offensive side of the football, and that's not even the defense under Robert Saleh, who was the only saving grace for Gang Green a year ago. How about the Miami Dolphins, the only other team to reach the postseason out of the AFC East a season ago? Many thought it would be New York. It ended up being Miami. The Fins won 11 games a season ago, well over their projected win total of this year at 9.5. Much like New York, the Dolphins win total 9.5, and the over has the juice. Miami also a minus money, odds-on favored number to see the AFC postseason. Will Miami be there once again?
I think they will be in the postseason once again. You take a look at last year, and sort of unfair. How injury ravaged was that defense, Ben, coming down the stretch from what we saw? And also, wouldn't it have been such a fun game to see temperatures around 50 degrees at Arrowhead Stadium when the Miami Dolphins took on the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, as opposed to minus 50 degrees, which you knew was really going to hamper that Miami offense? They are absolutely loaded. The one thing we wanted to see last year, Ben, out of Tua Tagovailoa wasn't play at a high level necessarily, was can you just be there healthy without getting any concussion issues? And he didn't have those issues. Now, this year, I believe I could get open as the third wide receiver if Waddle and Hill were opposed to me. Odell Beckham Jr. is in name only at this point. Can he contribute? Maybe a little bit there. He was absolutely insignificant in Baltimore, and you saw the playoffs. They didn't even look at him half of that game. So just that name recognition seems kind of nice. I don't know what type of impact he's going to have. They got speed in the backfield for days, one of the best play callers in football, and for a regular season football team, barring disastrous injuries, yes, they should be right around that 10-win mark here and making the playoffs once again in 2024.
Minus 140, the number on Miami to see the postseason. I would believe in that once again. Defense has to be better. Vic Fangio no longer there. Apparently the players like the new DC in South Florida a little bit more. In terms of the overall outlook, even if I like betting minus 140 for Miami to see the playoffs, or maybe better yet, over 9.5 at minus 122, because with how competitive the AFC looks to be, if you're not getting to double-digit wins, you're probably not going to sniff even the wild card hunt within the AFC. I'm not overly optimistic that I would bet the Finns number at 12-1 to win the AFC title. I think they have a certain ceiling as things stand currently in Miami. So 3 teams favored to make the playoffs within the AFC East, in one that might already be looking at the number 1 overall pick for 2025. The New England Patriots next.
I think the one comparison that I'd like to make that reminds me of Tiger is Scotty's ability to make shots on a Sunday look like shots on a Thursday. And Tiger was so good at doing that too. In the high pressure leverage moments, he didn't lose a step. You know, he was still able to hit it pin high. He's still knocking down flag sticks. He doesn't miss-hit it.
Only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA is a unique market, right? It moves a little bit different. You take a bet, a limit play, even if the limit is 2 dimes on a side, you don't go from 11.5 to 12. You know what I mean? You got to go. Because if they bet you the second number, then you go, oh boy, now we have a decision that we really didn't think we got a big decision. Books love decisions.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is Canada. You know, Canada is one of those teams that's the darling of the tournament right now. They're still 9-1.
To win a tournament, or even to advance far into a tournament like this, you need a bit of good fortune. And it doesn't matter if you're getting the good fortune that Canada has, where they played 2 matches where they were up a man, or you had the good fortune of Argentina, who's one of the best teams in the world, who just got on the good side of the draw.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Pharrell. He's on the back 9 of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on this Win Total Tuesday, forecasting the football season to come in 2024 with a focus divisionally on the AFC East. 3 teams in this division expected and favored to reach the postseason. The Bills, the divisional frontrunners. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, -172. Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, a -140 price to see the playoffs for a second straight season. And then there's the New England Patriots. 4.5 is the number on the Pats in the first year under Gerard Mayo. 4.5 the win total for New England DRS. It is the lowest in all of the National Football League. The worst win total out of all 32 NFL organizations. When's the last time we said that about the Pats? Back in the mid-90s before Bill Belichick took over?
I mean, it's great stuff. I mean, this is what the rest of the NFL is absolutely have to love. So if you are the New England Patriots this year, Robert Kraft, here's what I advise you to do. Have a giveaway each game for something of a Tom Brady item. Maybe it's one of the jerseys sponsored by a local union. Maybe it's a Tom Brady hat. Maybe even like game number 3 or 4, surprise and say, ooh, let's tease this. Tom Brady's going to appear at halftime and just say a few words to the crowd. That's all you have to look forward to at this point right now. But at this point, if you are the New England Patriots, the question marks around are you just going to let your young quarterback rip early in the season, or are you going to wait? It's unbelievable. You're right. This is a 17-game season now, and the New England Patriots, not 14.5, as it probably would be in Tom Brady's prime, but 4.5 here. And also, Ben, if we take a look at that schedule, let's just say you don't want to put Drake May out there and you're just going to go with Jacoby Brissett. Week number 1 at the Bengals. Week 2, Seattle. Week 3 at the Jets. Week 4 at the 49ers. Week 5, Miami Dolphins. Week 6, Houston Texans. Week 7 at the Jaguars. Week 8, the Jets. You got to be kidding me with that opening schedule. Yeah. Gerard Mayo might not even make it a halfway through the season without people already calling for him to be fired. But it's not his fault. This is a disaster roster built by Bill Belichick's inefficiencies over the final couple years without Tom Brady. There's not a lot of talent there, and that 4.5 sticks. It's hard to win under 4 games in the NFL, but with this actual schedule and this roster, that's probably a reality here for the New England Patriots.
Second hardest schedule in all of the NFL, according to Sharp Football Analytics. It is a gauntlet, and it does a rookie quarterback in Drake May. No favors. Quickly here, Donnie, before we get deeper into New England's inefficiencies for this roster overall, who do you think starts week number 1? The veteran Jacoby Brissett or the rookie Drake May for New England?
I mean, 1,000%. This team stinks right now. It should be Jacoby Brissett. Let him earn his paycheck and get his head beat in on a week-to-week basis and give a soft landing late in the season for Drake May. If this team had any talent, nobody would argue a kid of Drake May's ilk getting drafted that high should not be the day 1 starter, and he should be. But it doesn't make any sense. If you want to turn this into a David Carr, scenario from back in the day with the Houston Texans when he's the number 1 overall pick and came to a team that couldn't block, he got ruined right away. Don't ruin your young quarterback. Ruin Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think further in that kind of explanation is not only the disastrously hard schedule to start the year, which would make any rookie quarterback have some very large growing pains, but the roster and maybe the lack of talent around the quarterback position in Foxborough, either Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. A lot of people look at Bill Belichick the last few years after Tom Brady left at the end of the 2020 NFL campaign or the end of the 2019 NFL campaign. And they say, hey, Bill didn't quite have it without Tom despite making the postseason with Mac Jones a few years ago. Outside of that, though, Donnie, even more importantly in my estimation is the footing in Foxborough that Belichick left Gerard Mayo. The roster, because Bill was also the head coach and the GM, is abysmal. Draft disaster decisions, terrible free agency moves that have left New England in an awful spot. I would not want to be a part of where things stand for the Patriots this season.
No, and you're right. And also, Bill Belichick changing his stripes later on. Do you remember for all those years how smart the Patriots were? They never spent money in the first couple weeks of free agency. Why? Because they had Tom Brady. He can make up for all those inefficiencies. The minute Tom Brady left, what did they do? Well, let me try to go out and recreate Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski at tight end and spend money like a drunken sailor. And none of that worked here. He was grasping at straws late in the game here, and we'll see. And that's a byproduct of what you're going to get. 4.5 win total for the Patriots. I got to tell you, as a Patriot hater, most people are outside of New England, you got to love to see it.
Everybody else has a 5.5 win total, including the Panthers, and the over even has the juice in Carolina. Hour 3 comes your way next. You're on the early line.